I set about designing the gate after the fence had been put in. So we designed a 9-foot gate to be able to allow a truck to go through the entrance of the farm. Here Tonton fabricated it at his shop and then later brought it to the lot and installed it on the gate columns. It's sturdy, lets the air breathe, allows it to go through, and it's a beautiful gate. Here we started with 1,000 mahogany trees, also redluwaan, and in addition we had some mango trees, citrus trees, and other fruit trees, plus papayas, and we've also planted Nara trees, atis, and we also planted lakatan bananas and saba banana trees. Here Father is putting in a calamansi or citrus tree. These trees bear small green fruit that is used for condiments such as to squeeze on pancit and other Filipino dishes. It's also used a lot of times to mix with fish sauce to give it that tangy flavor. And I think we planted about 3 to 5 of these guys along the property. Towards the lower rear of the property, I decided to put the mango trees there. So we are planting 33 mango trees in that lower part of the property. I am hoping that they like a little bit of the wetter soil. It's a little bit richer down there, and there are no coconut trees that hangs with their canopy. So what I mean to say is that there are indirect sunlight, and I'm hoping that that will encourage the grafted mango trees to grow. These trees that we bought are grafted, so they're not going to get as big as the trees that are from seed, but they will begin to fruit hopefully in 3 to 4 years, so we don't have to wait such a long time for fruit. We're hoping to fertilize them twice a year, and hopefully they take off. These mangoes are planted just for personal consumption. I am not looking to sell them really. If we can get 5 or 6 trees that constantly bear fruit, that would be very satisfactory to me. So again, this area here gets a little bit more water than the rest of the property simply because it's on the lower side of the hill towards the rear. It's near the river, and as you can see here, the actual soil here is much darker. It is not as red as the clay up on the plateau, so I'm hoping that the mangoes do well here. And if they don't, well, we'll plant some more up on top and see if they do better in drier soil. Though I bought the crew an earth auger to drill these holes for when they plant trees, it's very hard for Filipinos to get rid of their old traditional way of doing things. The earth auger would have made 33 holes in probably under 30 minutes. But here Father's still digging it the old way. It's just so hard to get them to adapt to new technology. That's the Philippines. Anyone who ever goes there and tries to do something new will find that this is a typical resistance when you're dealing with Filipino farmers, laborers, etc. This area here where Rex is walking basically is an area where they decided to clear the property before clearing the rest of the property. So they basically put a lane down the side of the fencing because I had instructed them to place the rows of mahogany in this area. So right now they were just clearing the area to plan for planting the mahogany trees here. The smaller coconut trees that we had planted 4 or 5 months ago are doing fairly well. They're nice and green. We had fertilized them, I think, about 2 months ago when these pictures were taken, or the video was taken. So they're doing pretty good. I am forecasting like a 20% loss in those trees that we planted, so hopefully whatever dies, whatever gets eaten up by snails or tree sucking insects, we'll just replace it as they die off. So I always factor in a 20% loss in anything that I plant. To keep the line straight for the mahogany rows, I instructed them to stretch a fishing wire straight across from one end of the lot to the other. And this is the guide so that they can keep the rows straight. Why did we plant mahogany trees? Probably you're asking. Well, hardwood trees are very expensive in the Philippines, especially good hardwood. So mahogany tree, luwaan or red luwaan trees, Nara trees, they fetch a very good price once they're matured. It takes about 8 to 12 years depending on the soil and if you fertilize, and each tree is worth about between 8 to 12,000 pesos depending on the quality and the size of the tree. So we are planning to probably plant every year a couple of hundred trees so that once we start to harvest, there's always something to harvest in the following year or the following years to come. As far as the other fruit trees, they're basically for personal consumption, and if possible, maybe we can give some away, help with the feeding of the school. Also, some of it can be used to feed animals. We are planning to put some goats in here so that we can start to use them to basically lower the cost of gasoline, lower the cost of frequent grass cutting. So we're gonna probably put goats in the lot after about 2 or 3 years. We just have to make sure that the trees, once the goats are introduced, are tall enough to where the goats can't damage them anymore. Also, we're probably going to put chickens here, and Rex has a dream of putting pigs. Nothing crazy, not a piggery, just for personal consumption, and maybe once in a blue moon sell a few just so that we can make up for the feeds. The second round of planting mangoes, we tried a different supplier. As you can see, this is up on top of the plateau or the highest part of the property. And you notice that the soil is reddish clay. And this kind of worries me when I saw this video, because I don't think there is a lot of good soil up there. It's just, this is dark or brown clay. So we are going to be fertilizing a lot of this area, especially where we planted fruit trees. We are also trying to find a poultry or a chicken poultry so that we can either buy, or maybe they're giving away their manure, chicken manure, and hopefully we can also use that here. This is basically the row that they planted mahogany trees along the fence. This spans the entire length of the lot. It's hard to see here, but there are 3 rows, and they basically will zigzag so that not one tree is shading the other tree. It's part of what I'm trying to do in that small lot, is to do intensive farming. The next trick I hope to do is to bring in dwarf coconut trees and plant them 2 trees to 1 space. I just have to get as many trees as I can in this small lot, and in the future, if it looks overcrowded, I would rather trim the trees than to have none, or have a few and then have to wait for them for another 10 years to grow. So that's the plan. Put as many as I can in, do intensive intercropping, and then fertilize, and then we can cull or trim the trees that are in the way or it isn't any good. Another thing that we are planning to do when I go home is, because I'm seeing how dry the area is when it's not rainy season, we are going to put in a deep well, the kind that they drill. Hopefully it's not too expensive and we get water fairly quickly. There is a river down here, so I'm hoping that the water table is not too low or too deep. Again, as you'll notice, lots of clay in this upper part of the property, whereas on the lower portion of the property, where there's a lot of water that drains down to it, there's a lot more black soil down there. So we'll see who gets a jump on their growth, the top ones or the bottom ones. Either way, all of the trees will get fertilized minimum twice a year. Now, my supplier assured me that these mangoes were sweet catimon, or that type of variety, or something large and sweet, supposedly, that it's grafted from. But in the Philippines, you never know if that mango is gonna actually bear fruit as they promised, or will it bear the native mango that is small, green, and sour. Either way, I'll enjoy both of them. I love the green sour, what they call Carabao mango, and I also love the sweet yellow ones. So we rolled the dice, we got them for a good price, and we plant, and hopefully a few of them survive, and we get some nice mangoes in about 5 or 6 years.
Ito po yung mga Nara.